The following program is furnished by K1 International LLC and is responsible for its content. Now, from the fifth floor Cumulus Studios in downtown Dallas, it's time for Inside Real Estate. Here's your host, Michael Kruizinga.
Good morning, Dallas, Fort Worth Metroplex. How we doing out there? Welcome to your long holiday weekend, July 4th weekend. Happy Sunday to you. Hey, happy July 4th weekend. Happy birthday, America. Do you know how old we are, folks? We are 240 years old. And, well, there you go. We're 240. You know who else, though, has got a birthday this year? Orange Julius. Orange Julius is 90 years old. I had one yesterday at Dairy Queen, and I was quite happy with it. Hadn't had one in a while.
Wow, I haven't seen one of those in quite a while.
Yeah, and by the way, folks, if you've been missing Orange Julius, you know, they used to be in the malls.
Yeah.
And you don't really see them too often anymore, but most of the Dairy Queens now have the original Orange Julius. Not all of them do, but I had a real treat yesterday. I got to grab one over at the DQ, and I was quite happy. And there you go, 90 years old, Orange Julius. Hey, folks, guess what? Website, InsideRealEstateRadio.com, InsideRealEstateRadio.com. If you want to catch up with all of our partners, by the way, you can always go to the website. Of course, you can hit our Pinterest page, our Twitter page, Facebook, and all that sort of social media stuff. By the way, if you are actively looking for real estate, DFW Metroplex Real Estate app, which is on your smartphone, Apple, or Droid. And you know what? We're going to have a great show for you here today. We got a lot of things to talk about. Coming up in this show today, we have got the author of Crisis of Character, Gary Byrne, former Presidential Secret Service officer. He's going to be with us, calling in later in the show, and we're going to be talking to him about the latest and greatest book that he just put out, and that'll be interesting, so stay tuned for that. That's a little bit later in the show. We're also, of course, going to do some real estate. You know, our show is kind of wild and crazy. We talk about real estate, we talk about sports, entertainment, politics, all kinds of things. So we've also got here on the show Jared Benson from Permapeer Foundation Repair. We're going to be chatting with him. Some great tips and tricks that you're going to want to stay tuned for there, as well as we're going to be talking to Richard Tonica over at Goosehead Insurance. We're going to be talking about some insurance and real estate with him. So great segment with him. Stay tuned for that. And then, of course, our author, Gary Byrne, author of Crisis of Character, later in the show. Let's get into a little bit of headlines, as we like to talk about. Sam, did you see this story? There was, down in Houston, a 12-year-old girl who grabbed a car, and believe it was her grandma's car, and she had her 5-year-old sister in the car, and she led police on about a 40 mile high-speed chase. Yeah, and she's only 12 years old. Speeds up to over 100, and if you saw the dash cam video, she was weaving in between cars, going on the opposite side of the road,
shooting gaps and jumping humps.
Yeah, I mean, 12 years old.
How did she reach the pedals?
I have no idea. But I'm guessing who is going to be bailing her out is going to be maybe somebody from NASCAR. Because the next Danica Patrick right there. Absolutely. 12-year-old. Wow. And we still don't know all the details as to why she led the police on this wild chase. But with her 5-year-old kid sister in the car too.
Maybe they wanted to go to McDonald's.
Yeah. Mom or grandma said no Mickey D fries today, and they said, "What? We're out of here." What else is going on in the news today? Of course, all over the news is Hillary Clinton. The FBI interview went in yesterday for about 3.5 hours to talk about the email scandal, if you will. And, of course, we've all been thinking this was probably not going to lead to anything anyway. And my guess is they were ultimately just planning to try to wrap this up before she officially became the Democratic nominee, which, is pretty much all wrapped up. And they wanted to have this fixed by that time. We don't know what they're going to say, but, of course, Attorney General Loretta Lynch has already said that she's going to go ahead with whatever the FBI puts forth before her.
Sort of like a half recusal.
Yeah, pretty much has just said, I'm not really going to change anything. Whatever they put before me, we're going to go with it. And, of course, the big story with her is hubby Bill Clinton, while also in Phoenix at the airport. He's former president. He can do what he wants to do. Shut down traffic, move our plane over so that we can go chat with Loretta. And actually, we're going to maybe ask Gary later in the show and see what his thoughts are on that. I'm sure he's heard some things behind the scenes from the Secret Service detail on the ground there. But, he goes over and just walks over to her plane, chats for about 20, 30 minutes. And, of course, that looks horrible. But
and that's a long time to talk on a tarmac.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that's not just shooting the breeze.
Negative.
Of course, Rush Limbaugh offered his theory on that and says, you know what? We know Bill Clinton is a great guy and loves to shoot the breeze, but you know what? That's just looking a little too suspicious there. And that's what he's calling it there. Moving on, Trump thinking about Chris Christie. And Chris Christie reporting that he has received the official paperwork for the vetting process for the VP candidacy. So Trump looking solidly at Chris Christie. That could be interesting there.
That's probably a strong choice.
Actually, I think so.
Oh yeah,
I think so, and I think that could be a strong ticket.
Well, Christie's a strong, proven leader.
Yeah, he is strong, and he's no nonsense. And I'm wondering that those two personalities, though, they're both extremely.
We'll have to see how the vetting
strong
goes down.
Personalities, yeah. I wonder if that's just for show. I don't know. Of course, I don't know that Trump would pick it, but Gingrich's name has been out there, of course, as well. I think that's likely more floated by just the Republican establishment more than anything else. Buddy Ryan, Coach Buddy Ryan, passed away this past week at 82. Of course, father to Rex and Rob, both coaches in the NFL as well. And, of course, Buddy Ryan on the coaching staff of the defense, 85 Bears, the classic 85 Bears defense. So that was sad to see. But he lived a long life, 82 years old. What else we got here? This was interesting. You would think that the U.S. Chamber of Commerce is in lockstep with Donald Trump as far as point of view, but they really aren't getting all that much along. And, the chamber spends a lot of money, giving money to Republicans, $35 million in 2014, another $14 million to keep the next cycle going. They spend a lot of money with the Republicans, and so just kind of surprising they're not in lockstep with Trump. I think they get a sense that he's going to shake things up, and the Chamber of Commerce does like things to stay status quo. So that kind of says something there that Trump really is going to maybe shake things up. So very interesting there. Hey, folks, Inside Real Estate, sports, entertainment, and news. We're going to take a short break. Come on back. Folks, it's Mike Kruizinga here with Inside Real Estate Sports Entertainment on 570 AM KLIF. Did you know that virtually all of us will experience a fall in the bathtub at some point in our life? Well, statistically, it's true, and as we get older, a fall in the bathtub can spell disaster, as we just can't recover the same as we did in our younger years. Don't let something as silly and preventable as a bathtub fall put an end to all your special plans you have lined up for your golden years. Invest in a Hydrojet walk-in bathtub. Made in the USA and with the lowest step in the industry, Hydrojet walk-in tubs has your best interest at heart. With no commission sales staff or huge warehouse overhead, they build and sell direct to you, saving you thousands of dollars over their competitors. Call Randy, my friend and owner of Hydrojet Walk-In Tubs at 855-980-8827 or go to hydrojetwalkintubs.com. You'll be able to speak with Randy directly, and make sure to mention you heard about it on the radio. And for you veterans out there, there's a grant available for you to cover the majority of the cost of a walk-in tub, making it darn near free. Call Randy at 855-980-8827 or go to hydrojetwalkintubs.com today. today. With decades of experience, the Rocky Martin Supreme Lending Team will work to close your home loan in 30 days or less. With access to the most competitive interest rates, the most financing options, and the most access to down payment assistance programs, the Rocky Martin team won't be beating service to you for all your mortgage needs, including purchase and refinance. Trust RockyMartin.com and his team for their reliable and fast loan process. Go to RockyMartin.com or call 972-772-1866 today.
For housing lender, NMLS ID number 211731, 6730 Horizon Road, Suite B, Heath, Texas 75032.
Now back to Inside Real Estate. Here's Mike the Realtor.
Hey folks, we are back. It's Inside Real Estate with Mike Kruizinga, website InsideRealEstateRadio.com. We got Jared Benson here in studio.
Good morning, Mike.
Good morning. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing great.
Good.
Glad to be here.
Well, we're going to talk with Jared over here at PermaPier Foundation Repair of Texas. And by the way, the website's permapier.com. Foundation repair is a huge part of what we deal with as homeowners here in the DFW area. And, should you need that at some point, we're going to talk about some questions you need to ask the competitors when they come out to your house.
Yep.
And then, of course, we want you to call PermaPier right after that.
That's right. Yeah. You don't call us first, call us last. So.
That's right. That's right. So, because look, there's a lot of bad companies out there.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you are going to decide to call a couple others, first, which, hey, it's not a bad policy to call a couple other companies and then call the best last. But you'll see an very obvious distinction.
Yeah, we certainly hope so. So today I wanted to just share a little bit of information with you and all of our listeners today, really about how to select a good contractor in general. From my perspective, I'm always talking about how to select a good foundation repair company.
Sure.
In Texas, we're considered contractors, so these are good questions to ask roofers, general contractors, even the licensed trades. Plumbers, HVAC, electricians, because just because they're licensed doesn't mean they're following all the guidelines they're supposed to be following.
Right.
And I've got a short little story that'll help make one of my points today about that. But there are going to be a lot of good questions to ask any contractor you're going to do business with, but foundation repair specifically today.
Sure.
Cool.
Well, all right. Let's say, home buyer, Mr. and Mrs. Johnson, call, contractor out here, and what do they need to say? Where do they even start? A lot of folks don't even know where to, what to ask, what to start with.
Yeah. So what's and one of the most important things is really a lot of this is going to come from the homeowner's perspective. So while the company will come out for anybody, before a homeowner allows anyone to do work on their property, one of the very first questions you should ask is, are you insured? You'd be surprised how many are not. And that's just general liability. That's what we're looking for right here. And I was in a meeting with one of the big brokers here in DFW, and he kind of raised his hand and said, "Hey, Jared, are licensed plumbers required to have liability insurance?" And I said, "Well, I don't know, but I'll figure it out for you." And I went and asked our plumbers, and he laughed at me when I asked the question. He said, "Of course we are. We're licensed."
Right.
But the reason he asked me that question was because he had a listing agent one time who listed a house, recommended a master licensed plumber to fix a leaky sink for this listing. That's it. Real simple. Well, the homeowner was so comfortable with this plumber that she left. Pick up the kids or run an errand or something, said, "Hey, lock up. I'll take care of the bill." Somehow the house burned down. I don't know. He didn't tell me how, or he didn't know how, but the house burned down, and the plumber was the last one there.
Wow.
Mike, take a quick guess who you think ended up paying for that house.
Her insurance.
No, the broker.
That's right. You said it was listed for sale.
The homeowner used the single referral that the agent gave her, and E&O insurance is most likely the way, the errors and omissions that realtors carry and brokers carry for their realtors.
Sure, yeah.
Well, the broker paid for that house. So if there's any realtors out there listening, just think, do you think your broker wants to pay for any of your listings?
No.
Probably not.
No, they do not.
But for the homeowner, what happens if you didn't get a referral from someone else that you can go after their insurance? What happens if you found them yourself and you didn't check to see if they're insured? That's bad news, and sure, maybe your insurance, it does cover it, but you're going to be out of pocket a good bit and a big chunk of time. But with insurance might with keeping that coverage might come a slightly higher cost, which is why a lot of these guys are still in business. Is they're able to sell stuff at a little bit lower price.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, absolutely. I mean that resonates big time.
That's really probably we could stop here and you've learned something good.
That's
enough
right.
For
Yeah,
your
we
time,
could absolutely just.
I've got a few more things for you.
Yeah, no, you've got to figure out if they're insured because look, yeah, I mean, if the house is listed, realtors out there, you could be, in a world of hurt.
And
if
don't
you're a broker.
just take their word for it, please. We've had employees leave our company, had a copy of our certificate of insurance, somehow managed to change the name. The only reason we found out is because they tried to pull a permit in the city we do a lot of business in, and the people in the permitting office recognized our information and called us. So you need to call the insurance. They provide you with, even with a certificate, you need to call the company and say, hey, is this still valid?
Is it valid?
Is it valid? Yep.
Yeah.
Because some will do it in order just to renew their license to show they have valid insurance, and then they'll discontinue.
Then they'll
their
terminate
insurance.
it.
Yeah.
They terminate the policy. Yeah. So they need a GL certificate.
Yep.
And these contractors should be, having those in their truck. They should have plenty of copies of their GL certificate.
Yeah.
They can just hand out. And then, but you're right. You can't just stop there. You need to call it.
Trust but verify.
Absolutely. Make sure it's still valid.
So the next thing that it's a good question to ask is, are your crew members, these guys who are going to be working on my property, whether it's roofers or foundation repair guys, are they day laborers? Are they employees? Are they contractors? And one, you probably don't want just a guy they picked up off the street working on your house. He may or may not know what he's doing.
Right.
And two, you've got guys who are considered contractors. It's if they're paid by a 1099 rather than W-2. The big difference there is that a company can insure their employees with workers' comp, whereas they don't have to carry any coverage for covering a guy who's paid as a 1099 contract employee. So a question I also like to ask homeowners and realtors is, who is liable for any injuries that occur on your property? It's the homeowner.
Yeah.
So think about foundation repair, using hydraulic cylinders, carrying big concrete blocks, wheelbarrows full of dirt, and even roofers is even scarier. These guys are walking around on your roof. If someone were to fall off that roof, or they were to, I've had to take a guy to the emergency room that worked for us because he hit himself in the face with a mallet. Now, it's kind of a weird situation. He was bent over, upside down, hammering something, but he had a couple of stitches in his face after that. Mm-hmm. If that company doesn't carry workman's comp, that person can come after the homeowner. And you homeowners, you don't want to pay for some employee, some idiot mistake that they made while doing work for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we got to pay for the services and the materials for whatever we're having done to our house as a homeowner anyway. We don't have to worry about some accident, but this really hits home, I think, probably for everybody, because how many of us have had all kinds of work done to our home and we
Pool
don't
service,
and we don't do any of these things.
Lawnmowers, yeah, all sorts of these guys who there's a probability that something could happen. And if it does, who's going to be liable for that? Who's going to take care of it?
Yeah, absolutely. So you're absolutely right. We need to be smarter out there.
Yeah.
And we do need to ask these questions and verify these things.
Yeah, and the next one is just, how long have you been in business? A lot of times with contractors, just in general, they like to tell you how many years of experience their company has or how many years of experience they have. The problem in foundation repair is that guys go in and out of business a lot. And what they do is they void their warranties when they go out of business, and so they don't have to honor their warranties. Mm-hmm. Well, they might have 20 years experience, but it's through 10 different companies. They started at 2 years apiece.
Right.
Which means in 2 years, you're not going to have a warranty on the foundation repairs they just did for you.
Right.
So I kind of really bring it home. And if you listen to any of the stock market investing stuff on the weekend, other radio programs, they always say, past performance is not indicative of future success. And they're right. It's not a guarantee. But I read a book on Warren Buffett, like the only self-made billionaire through the stock market. And one of his 4 principles for evaluating a company to purchase was a stable operating history. So a stable operating history, good past success, if that's good enough for a billionaire to choose how to buy companies, it's probably good enough for you to choose a foundation repair company.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it goes a long way. It goes a long way. I mean, somebody that's been in business for a while and through the thick and through the thin versus just folding
Ups
the
and
doors,
downs and everything
as soon as
else.
it gets bad.
Yeah.
And you're right. Strategically, a lot of companies do that. Whether it's in foundation repair or any other contractor business, maybe go a couple of years, they have a bad year, boom, get rid of it and start over.
Yep. Yeah, I know, and I know we're getting near the end, but I always like to tell people, hey, get some referrals, go online, check out reviews. Keep in mind the percentage of upset customers who write online reviews and the percentage of happy customers that write reviews are significantly different.
Right.
So you're always, no matter how great a company is, you're going to find some bad reviews, but you want to see, how many reviews do they have at least compared to their competitors. And then what's the general consensus across those? I'd probably rather see a company that had 1 or 2 negative-ish reviews than a company that had all 5 stars and not a single bad thing to say about them. I'm like, man, did they pay for all those?
Right, exactly.
Is every single one of those an
Is
employee?
that real?
Yeah. When you get a couple upset people, you're like, hey, these are actually some real reviews right here.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And it's really not, does anyone ever get upset, but it's how does a company handle upset customers? Do they take care of them or do they kick them to the curb? That kind of stuff.
Right. Yeah, because things do happen and things are, especially when you're dealing with foundation repair or, contractor businesses in general, when you're relating to the home, there's unforeseen things that occur. And so, of course, homeowners are going to get upset. And now when they get upset and an issue occurs, how are they being handled? How are they being taken care of?
Yep.
Should something happen, of course, you guys always take care of them, and that's what you want. But you're right. How many positive reviews do you go out of your way to go out and write versus the negative ones?
Yeah.
But look, this has all been great information, and folks, when you're thinking about foundation repair, I want you to think about PermaPeer Foundation Repair.
I'd appreciate it too.
Absolutely. Go to permapeer.com or give Jared a call over at the office. And
214-637-1444. 214-637-1444.
Yeah, let them know you heard it on the radio, and just a lot of great information in general when you're thinking about contractors out there. Ask them those questions Jared pointed out. Great information. Jared, well, we'll see you next week.
All right, man. It's good to be here.
All right, sounds good. Folks, Inside Real Estate, hey, come on back in a few.
Living in the DFW area, expansive clay soil and extreme weather conditions play havoc on homes' foundation. But thankfully, you can turn to PermaPeer Foundation Repair of Texas, who has successfully repaired over 20,000 properties and counting in the DFW area. With the most trusted, tried and true foundation repair methods, trust the professional staff of PermaPeer Foundation Repair to take care of your property, and most repairs are backed by a lifetime transferable warranty. Mention Inside Real Estate Radio when calling PermaPeer at 214-637-1444 or when booking online at permapeer.com for your Inside Real Estate Radio discount.
With over 3.5 million square feet and 5 DFW locations, Ideal Floors has you covered for all your flooring needs. Whether you're looking for carpet, tile, laminate, wood, or vinyl plank, Ideal Floors has you covered. And with their price match guarantee and their 100% satisfaction guarantee, they are the absolute best in DFW for all your flooring needs. Call Kevin Hamus, the owner of Ideal Floors, at 214-789-0422 or go to idealfloors.com for all your flooring needs. Far from the shores of home, 2 African-American U.S. Army privates fight for their lives on the battlefronts of World War II. The first Black War correspondents fight to cover the perspective of the black soldier. The novel A Private War weaves all this and more into an epic World War II era story of friendship, conflict, religion, and redemption. Get a copy of Private War, a novel by Perry Cockrell today, now available on Amazon.com. And tune in regularly to Inside Real Estate Sundays, 8 to 9 a.m. to hear Perry Cockrell, attorney at law, as he provides expert analysis of the latest and greatest in legal news.
Now back to Inside Real Estate. Here's Mike the Realtor.
Hey folks, we are back. Inside Real Estate, Mike Kruizinga, website InsideRealEstateRadio.com, InsideRealEstateRadio.com. Time for an insurance segment for all you folks out there. We've got Richard Tonica here in studio. By the way, his phone number where you can catch up with him for all of your insurance needs, home, auto, toys, otherwise, 817-286-2002. That's 817-286-2002. Richard, what's going on today?
I'm doing well. How are you doing today?
I'm doing excellent. Let's school some folks out there on some insurance, and let's help them out. Let's look, better policies, better prices. We are here to help the people.
Yes.
And so let's get them some info and see who we can help out there.
Okay. I was working with a customer just the other day, and he just started a claim. And as we were walking through it, I did what I normally do. I told him, it's like, okay, before we put in this claim, I'm going to send 2 people to you. I made sure that he was okay, his house was okay, and that there weren't any leaks. There wasn't anything going on to where we needed to put in a claim today. Because if we're going to do what we need to do, but we do our due diligence, but to find out what we need to do.
Absolutely.
And so walked him through the steps, gave him a few different contacts to call. And as he's making the call, he was like, why? Let's just put in the claim. I was like, well, do you really want to do that right now? And he's like, well, yeah, I want this to get paid out. And I was, well, I do too, but I'm redoing my roof right now. I put my claim in after I had 3 people come out to check my roof out. I'm not going to put in a claim on myself or one of my customers if I don't think it's going to be paid out.
Right.
If the customer wants to do that, that's up to them. All I can do is advise them, lead them a little bit, and tell them what I would personally do. And this is what I do. So I had 3 people come out to my roof, come out to my house, check out my roof, make sure that the damage that I thought I saw was actually there. Each one of them said, yes, this is this. I didn't tell them that I was the agent. I didn't let them know anything because I want an unbiased opinion.
Sure.
And these are the same companies that I've been using for a while, but the people that came out didn't know me. I didn't want them to know me because I want to see how they operate as well, because you're not always going to deal with the same person, but you may deal with the same company.
Right. Yeah. You want fresh eyes.
Exactly.
Yep.
And so I sent them out, gave him the contacts. He went ahead and called them. And he's like, well, one guy said that I didn't have enough to have a claim. Another guy said it may be 50-50. And when I have people that are going to get the job tell me that, well, I don't know if he's got enough damage, you're probably not, you don't have enough damage to put in a claim.
Right.
And that's kind of what we talk through is in doing our due diligence. If all 3 of them come back and say, yes, there is enough damage here that we need to put in a claim, then that's what we do. And we do it right then and there. And he picks whoever he wants to pick. I don't lead or anything else with that. And because with insurance, you can pick whoever you want to pick. It doesn't matter. A lot of times it doesn't matter if they're licensed or not, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
But like I told him, even with my own personal house, I didn't want it done straight away. I wanted for the storm season to end. There is no point in putting a new roof on your house at the beginning of storm season. I'm sure all the people up in the Wiley area understand this, that yes, I may seem like I'm dragging my feet
mm-hmm.
for my customers sometimes because they want it done right now. But unless it's the reason I asked if it was leaking, if his roof was leaking, was to find out, is there immediate damage? Is it going to make the roof any worse or anything, or is it going to do any additional damage? And then come in, and then that's when we take our next steps.
Yeah, because we don't need a new roof 2 weeks from now.
Exactly.
You know, when the next storm comes through and it's even worse than the first one.
And a catastrophic loss doesn't really affect your rate with every carrier. Some carriers it does. And especially if you have 2 roof claims within a matter of weeks, I mean, usually within 3 years, but much less. I mean, oh my goodness, 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, most carriers are going to say, no, I'm sorry, this isn't a risk that we're willing to take.
Right.
And that's why we go through and kind of do our due diligence. Now, if you have a hole in your roof, yes, you get on it, get it taken care of. But like I said, I don't ever like changing a roof at the beginning of storm season if I can do it. So back to my personal house, I'm finally going to schedule mine mid-July. Now, that's not to say that the claim hasn't been in. It's been in. It's already been approved. Everyone's already gotten back to me, and I know exactly how much I have to pay out. I know what I'm covered for. I know all that.
Right.
But at the same time, we've talked about storm chasers in the past. I don't want people that don't do this every day of their life for a living to do my roof. I want people that, I don't want people that are doing the storm chasing where they're getting day laborers to make as much money, and it's not the people that they normally use on their normal crews.
Right.
I want their best crew working on my house, and I'm sure y'all do too.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so that's the reason when you see all these roofs being put up, I would advise you to wait your time if you can, because I want your best crew.
Right.
I want the best crews on my customers' homes that I can get. And when you've got every house in your neighborhood having a new roof, do you really think every house has their best crew out there?
Right.
Absolutely not.
No, because there's just too much. Yeah, there's too much that needs to be done, and you're absolutely right. And that's an excellent point. I think a lot of people probably don't even think about that, because as many new roofs are going on in the Metroplex, you're right. They're going to fill in the labor force with whatever they can get, and these folks may not even be, roofers by trade at all.
Exactly.
And you don't want issues on the install, of your roof. It's your protection blanket over the house. You want that done right.
Exactly. Anything that's done to my house or one of my customers' house, I want the best people doing the best job possible.
Right.
And so, and I'm not saying that the roofers do this, but come on.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
They don't all have a workforce that can handle that many houses.
No, they don't. Not at all. Not by a large stretch. So you're absolutely right. That's an excellent point. Yeah, I think a lot of people probably don't think about that at all. So yeah, if you do, it's one thing if the house is leaking, and it's got to be dealt with right then, right now, different story. But if it's not, then yeah, you might want to just, wait, and when they get to it, then they get to it with hopefully the best crew possible.
Yes,
absolutely. Good point.
Well, that's part of what I do is it's my job to think about this for my customers to make sure that when they call me, we already have a plan in order for them and their house and exactly what we're going to do.
Yeah, because making a claim isn't fun. It's stressful when it's a real legitimate claim. Not that you're just excited to get a new roof because it's hail season. Hey, it's it's like trading in your car lease every 1 or 2 years. Hey, time for a new roof. Let's go. I don't know, light blue this time. If it's a good legitimate claim, hey, that's stressful. It's a pain in the rear end, and it's just stressful enough, and
yes.
So you have a plan of action for all of these things, and take care of your clients the right way, and just talking about that story right there says it, kind of says it all right there. Folks, we've been talking to Richard Tonica over at Goosehead Insurance Agency, owner of, by the way, phone number to reach him, 817-286-2002, 817-286-2002. Give him a call for all your needs, not only homeowners insurance, but car, motorcycle, toy, anything you can think of that needs to be insured. I would call him because you're going to get a better policy at a better rate anyway. And look, you want to be covered when something happens. So, Richard, good talking to you again, and we'll be talking next week.
Thank you for having me. I look forward to it.
Same here. Folks, Inside Real Estate, Mike Kruizinga. See you in a few.
With decades of experience, the Rocky Martin Supreme Lending Team will work to close your home loan in 30 days or less. With access to the most competitive interest rates, the most financing options, and the most access to down payment assistance programs, the Rocky Martin team won't be beating service to you for all your mortgage needs, including purchase and refinance. Trust RockyMartin.com and his team for their reliable and fast loan process. Go to RockyMartin.com or call 972-772-1866 today.
For housing lender, NMLS ID number 211731, 6730 Horizon Road, Suite B, Heath, Texas 75032.
The Richard Tonica Insurance Agency in Arlington has nearly unlimited resources when it comes to getting you the best insurance rates and policies for home, auto, and more. As part of the Goosehead Insurance brand, you, the consumer, have the power of choice through the Richard Tonica Insurance Agency Network. Richard can quote over 20 A-rated companies to find the best fit for you, the best policy at the best price. Call Richard today at 817-286-2002. It's the Richard Tonica Goosehead Insurance Agency, 817-286-2002.
Do you know the difference between a business and a successful business? Excellent branding. You can increase your sales and branding recognition by attending the 1-hour free Cumulus Radio Branding Seminar, July 13th. You'll learn the 4 keys of branding, how to use trigger events to drive business, and how to market your business. You'll even get a free lunch. To join us, call 214-523-2760. That's 214-523-2760.
If your roof has been damaged by the recent hailstorms, Lowe's is here to help. Our Lowe's exterior project specialists are locals who have seen the storm. They'll come to your home for a free consultation to help assess your needs and provide an estimate for a roof replacement. And Lowe's stands behind every roof installation with our 2-year labor guarantee, so you'll feel confident that the work is done right. Call 1-800-GO-LOWES to schedule your free in-home consultation. We'll help you tackle a major project like roof replacement so you can get your house back to normal and your life back on track.
Now back to Inside Real Estate. Here's Mike the Realtor.
Hey folks, we are back inside real estate, sports, entertainment, politics. How we doing out there? Hey, happy Sunday again, folks. Hey, guess what? Politics and entertainment segment coming up right here, right now. We have on the line with us Gary Byrne, author of Crisis of Character. Gary, are you on the line with us?
I am, sir. Good morning.
Good morning. How you doing over there?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for the invitation.
Well, thank you for coming on the show. We really appreciate it. Let's kind of start at the front with this a little bit.
Sure.
Give the folks a little bit of information about your background, military, career law enforcement, and then kind of moving forward a little bit in time. Let's give them a little bit of background before we get into the book.
Sure. I started with the U.S. Air Force in the early 80s, and then I was 12 years in the Secret Service Uniform Division in Washington, D.C. at the White House. And then my last 13 years of federal law enforcement, I was served as a federal air marshal. I switched over from the Secret Service Uniform Division to the Federal Air Marshal Service after we were attacked on 9/11. I felt my skills would be in better use there, and I just retired in March from the Federal Air Marshal Service.
Very good. Let's talk about let's give this difference to the folks, because I know there's a lot of folks out there that may not know the difference between a Secret Service agent and Secret Service officer, and then kind of what else goes on with the Secret Service. Let's give them that perspective real quick.
Sure, my pleasure. So the Secret Service is run by the agents, and then inside the Secret Service there's other divisions. And the division I was in is called the Uniform Division. And we're uniformed police officers that travel around the country and the world with the president, and they provide metal detector protection for the president and the first family. They also provide protection at the White House, the vice president's residence. They're the armed police officers you see securing the White House. They do the counter sniper teams. They do the K-9 bomb sniffing teams, and they do the emergency response teams at the White House and the vice president's residence.
Perfect. And I think that's some of the things that people need to know. I know you were on Hannity the other day, and also Alex Jones, and
yes,
great interviews there. I ordered the book off Amazon. I bought it. I read it cover to cover, as I do for all the books and all the authors that I have on the show.
Thank you.
Great book. Glad you're on the show. A lot of folks have said that this was a hit piece on the Clintons, and by no means was it a hit piece on the Clintons at all. In fact, it really was truly your story, your life story, and it was very apt what you said in the Hannity interview, which was, look, this is my life story. It just happens to intersect with the Clintons, and I felt that when I was reading the book.
Yes. People have to realize, especially, when you hear people criticizing the book and my timing, the reason that I have this great story to tell and the way it intersected with the Clintons is really of no fault of mine other than I joined the Secret Service. It was President Clinton and Mrs. Clinton that behaved the way they did and put myself and my fellow Uniform Division and Secret Service agents in positions that we were to testify against them. It wasn't our doing; it was their doing.
Sure, absolutely. In the book, you paint a very clear picture, between the previous administration with Bush's, and then as the Clintons come in, and not so much all about the Clintons, but the Clinton staffers and
Sure.
the Clinton machine. Very regal, very presidential. The Bush administration, the Clinton administration, very loosey-goosey, and just loose all around. And you cite examples of safes being open, top secret information, various information readily available, not locked up in the safes. Just kind of a loose administration.
It was at first, especially with some of the new employees that they brought in with them. Everybody wants to work at the White House and have all that excitement, but sometimes they don't realize the enormous responsibility that it is, controlling classified information and following rules and guidelines. And actually, as you know, some of the stories I tell in there are actually kind of humorous. The Glock in the sock and that type of thing. So
yeah, that was hilarious, and I can imagine, you guys talking about that all the time, joking about that later on.
Yeah.
Let's talk about. You said in the book you mentioned it, and this was obviously known back then as well. And the FBI kind of operated there for a while as their own private security firm as far as checking people out. There was over 900 illegal background checks.
Yes, I had the unique position when I worked outside the Oval Office. All the people that work at the White House, employees, military, whoever, they get the benefit of at certain times during the evenings they can bring their guests or friends to do tours of the Oval Office outside the Oval Office, and that's how I got to meet some of the FBI agents that worked there and a couple other people. And yeah, I used to hear, we would talk amongst ourselves, and they would ask me how things, how stressful or what crazy things were going on my side, by the Oval Office. And then in turn, they would tell me of the things where, like Mrs. Clinton and the administration there, President Clinton's administration and the First Lady, just didn't understand that the FBI wasn't this private security firm. You could just pick up the phone and ask for something. And eventually it blew up in their face. And again, because they can't follow the guidelines of the law and the rules, there's another scandal, just one scandal after the next. It's just insane when you think back on it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know a lot of us have slept for the last 20 years a little bit, and a lot of this is kind of rehashing and bringing back so many things of what all did happen back then. And
right.
But at the end of the day, I mean, the people elected him not only to the governor's mansion in Arkansas, the people of Arkansas, but we elected him twice here to the presidential office as well.
We did.
Pretty wild.
It is, and that's the thing. And I want your audience to understand this. I didn't particularly agree with the Clintons' politics, but you set that aside. That has nothing to, and writing my book really has nothing to do with the politics so much as I just want to tell the truth. But when you're in the Secret Service, whether it's an agent or a uniform division, you're protecting the person that's holding that office. And you do it to the best of your ability, and you do it with your life if you have to. And I certainly believed it then, and I still believe it now. It wasn't easy telling this part of my life because I am kind of talking out of school, but I think it's so important for the American people to know what the real Clinton machine is like. And that if she ends up getting elected, Mrs. Clinton ends up getting elected, we're going to have 4 to 8 more years of what her husband's administration was like, which was one scandal to the next. I mean, you couldn't put these scandals on 2 pieces of paper, single space. It's just incredible.
Yeah, it really is. And honestly, it brings up another question for me personally, and I'm sure a lot of other people out there as well. And that is, and I know this ship has sailed, but should a spouse of a president be allowed to run for office, any office? Obviously, she was Secretary of State and then senator in New York, but that ship sailed a bit. But should a spouse be able to run for office, particularly presidential office? That could be 16 years that essentially the same family could be in office. I mean, we're almost looking at like king and queen here.
Yeah. Yeah, well, the way our laws are written, I think the only guideline, and I think we got this out of the Kennedy administration after JFK appointed his brother, the Attorney General. It's just that she can't, like, if Mrs. Clinton became president, she couldn't turn around and officially appoint the former President Bill Clinton, to a cabinet member or a position. But you're right, it is a kind of a strange thing where it's a dynasty that I'm not sure is such a good thing for the American people.
Yeah, I would agree. Let's talk about the morale a little bit. The morale within the Secret Service in all of the divisions, particularly those that operate within the White House and at close proximity to the Clintons and the administration. You know, you talked about how morale was so bad, and at one point, you know, some 300 agents, you know, moved off to the Air Marshal Service, but that was that was even after Bush Younger took office a couple years into his term, his first term. You know, is it something that was not only morale was an issue under the Clintons, but it was just an issue overall? I mean, it was an issue of pay, the positions, and also, I mean, there's extreme stress that goes along with this position because not only, you know, are you in tight quarters all the time, but you're forced to watch a marriage up close in a lot of cases, and that is stressful as well.
Sure, you kind of hit the nail on the head. So one of the reasons I left and a lot of my coworkers left is because, and transferred to the Air Marshal Service, was for many, many years before that, the Secret Service has a very important job, and generally speaking, it's a good agency to work for. But they have a management problem. They've been using the same management technique for probably 75 years, which basically boils down to do as I say, not as I do. And or they use the terminology, that's the way we've always done it. And basically in the uniform division, I can tell you, you know, when I was there, the uniform division manpower ceiling was about 1,000. And I will tell you that we needed about 1,500 people. They have this mentality where it's cheaper for them to have to work 5 people to do the work of 10 as opposed to hiring the extra people and paying them benefits. So they just work the people that they have into the ground. Just to give you an example, my last year in the Secret Service Uniform Division, my base pay would have been about $55,000 a year. I made $72,000 that year without volunteering for 1 hour of overtime. That was all forced overtime. And guys get set up with it. And when we had the opportunity to transfer to the Air Marshal Service for better pay and a better retirement, we've been listening to these senior agents that managed us all these years who said, if you don't like it, quit. So we did. We transferred over and we left. And they lost about 300 people in the first year of the Air Marshal Service, 300 uniform division officers.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. And I think it's kind of indicative also of what's going on in corporate as well. You know, so many people are unemployed. You know, so many jobs are either sent overseas or sent to a computer, if you will. You know, you would think, you know, within, particularly right there, they would want to take care of you guys because you are closely taking care of them and protecting them, you know, from potentially life-threatening situations.
Sure. You know, the way the employees of the Secret Service are treated really ultimately comes down to the senior management of the Secret Service. And clearly for, you know, one or two of the directors we had in my time there, they were, especially one in particular, was kind of hostile towards, or appeared to be hostile towards the uniform division. And I actually talk about it in my book, Crisis of Character, where the uniform division wouldn't give the agents control over this benefit fund that we had, where we sold shirts and hats, and then the money we used to help the officers in the uniform division, they couldn't get control of that, so they had us kicked out of the White House. And that's just one of the examples of this, you know, mentality that I talk about in my book, Crisis of Character, of if we can't have it, then you can't have it either. And they're very vindictive and retaliatory in their management style. Now, I will say that the director they have now seems to be trying to fix some of that. But over the years, they've had a lot of problems, and it's cost them a lot of manpower.
Yeah, that is amazing to me with that type of almost the most important, you know, law enforcement piece that we have in America, you know, securing the president and the family, that it's mismanaged that way. Although I'm not surprised, and I think many are not surprised, because, you know, honestly, government doesn't do very much well anyway, so why would they do that well as well? But I want to get to a couple questions that I have for you.
Sure.
So let's get into this, the sex scandals part of it. You know, look, Bill Clinton, sex scandals while he was in the governor's mansion, while he was in the presidential office. None of that is new to anybody. What I am curious about is it presents a situation once you get really to the governor's mansion, or even more so into the Oval Office, the security risk of behavior that is outside of your marriage, having affairs. You've got the typical risk, which is, a jilted mistress. Maybe she wants to get back at you physically, kill you, and then kill herself, that type of thing. But then, maybe more importantly, also potentially a foreign agent or even a corporate agent just trying to get information. Has his behavior in the Oval Office, did it change policies at all within the Secret Service to how do we deal with this? Obviously, there was policies to deal with, keep the other spouse away while he's maybe interacting, inappropriately somewhere. Right. But more importantly, is there a process, where it's okay, we need to vet who the president is with? I mean, he's not going to be the first who is going to have affairs. He's not going to be the last. So, from securing the secrets that are within the White House as well as the president himself, what do we do there?
Well, I get exactly what you're saying, and it's funny. I always thought, like, when it became to me that Monica Lewinsky had more on her mind than being an employee of the White House. It did occur to me, because I'm an old, I was in the Air Force during the Cold War, so I have that Cold War mentality also. And my first thought in my mind was, how do we know who she is? Now, I can't tell you if anybody high up in the Secret Service ever did any further check on her to see who she was when they realized what was going on. I don't know that they did. If somebody came out and said they did, it wouldn't surprise me, but it's not the Secret Service's job to tell the protectees who they can and can't, socialize, or however you want to put it with, whether it's just social or having an affair with. I know that sounds bizarre, but then again, there's many bizarre things that the first Clinton administration brought us, and that's one of my fears, that the second Clinton administration will bring us more and more bizarre things to have to think about and talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to me, it's just a security concern. I mean, in spycraft, I mean, it's called the classic honey trap. So,
right. Exactly.
And it's employed. We employ it. Our own CIA employs it overseas. Sure. Other agencies employ it. I mean, It's not like because the president of the United States is the president of the United States that he's immune from that type of operation. And I think with his proclivities, shown both at the governor's level and at the presidential level, that it's a very high security concern. Yeah,
I saw that myself, and I think I talk a little bit about it in the book, but I certainly it was definitely one of my fears. And then the other thing you brought up was, what if because of these affairs, we actually discussed myself, other officers and agents. Now, I don't want to give you the impression that an official memo came from the top down, but the guys, the working agents on the detail and the officers that worked in the West Wing and the mansion discussed these things. And what if the First Lady caught the president in an affair and there was a domestic dispute over it? And because as I detail in my book, Crisis of Character, there are some examples of her becoming violent. So angry that she starts to become dangerous, or could become dangerous in certain situations. So there was definitely something to think about.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, how to handle domestic issues. Another question for you. What did you think, or have you heard anything about Loretta Lynch, the meeting on the tarmac with former President Bill Clinton?
Actually, I have thought about it, and I've been asked a couple questions about it. And as soon as I heard what happened, and I read about it, followed the details on the news, I will tell you it looks very, very familiar to me. And I actually tell this story in my book, Crisis of Character. When my coworkers and myself are testifying, one of my coworkers one day, he's still working in the West Wing, and after we're all just about done testifying to Judge Starr during the Lewinsky investigation, this guy gets a phone call one morning from the chief at like 6 o'clock in the morning. He says, "Hey, listen, I just got a call. You need to go down, to where you were testifying. They need you for 2 hours, and then you're going to come back, and then that's it. So he did what he was told to do. When he comes back, the West Wing receptionist says, "Hey, this is a little odd, but the president was looking for you." And he goes, "Really?" And then a couple of minutes later, President Clinton comes walking into the West Wing lobby. "Hey, how you doing? How was your morning this morning?" And we looked at this. Now, don't get me wrong. Bill Clinton was not rude to us, and he wasn't like when he was walking through the mansion or he walked by your post or saw you, he would say hi. He was very polite. But the fact that he came and looked for this guy on the day that he was giving testimony in a criminal case against him, I mean, we looked at it as a form of soft intimidation. And that's what I see with this meeting with the Attorney General. To me, this is pure President Clinton. He planned this. He could get it. The information that she was going to be there, he could easily obtain that. He planned this, and he walked his way onto that plane to let her know that, I have no idea what they talked about, but to me, it's a soft form of intimidation. And the optics are horrendous. But it's pure Clinton machine. We'll get the message across one way or the other.
Yeah, absolutely. I was kind of inclined to agree, and I think a lot of people are as well. I mean, the optics at least look horrible, and at worst, it's like, hey, by the way, this is going to go our way, right?
Yeah. Like I said, I don't know what was said, and although President Clinton, everybody always gives him these accolades of being so intelligent, and I'm sure he is. He is a very smart man. But of course, when it comes to his behavior with women, he's got issues. But set that aside. This guy knows about everything there is about the law. And I say this a little bit jokingly, not just because he's a lawyer, but look how many law issues that he's had. He understood what this would look like if it got out, and he took the chance anyway.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I think
absolutely.
I think it's very reckless of him again.
Agreed. Hey, folks, we've had on author of Crisis of Character, brand new book. A White House Secret Service officer discloses his firsthand experience with Hillary, Bill, and how they operate. Gary J. Byrne, former presidential Secret Service officer. Gary, thank you so much for being on the show. Best of luck on the book. And if you would hang on the line for a second, we'll
I will.
Folks, Inside
Thank
Real
you
Estate
very
Sports and Entertainment. We'll see you next Sunday. We're out of here.